Perfect. Okay, so this is me. My talk is going to be about traveling and how traveling has really influenced me in my studies as a user experience designer. So I'm a second year graduate student at UMSI. I really like Minions, if you can't tell, and I'm really big into instigating things. I love to travel. My roommate here is one that usually travels with me. We like getting a broad range of experiences, meeting different people, trying to integrate ourselves into different cultures, eating different food, because who doesn't love the food? But I decided to go to Paraguay for 2 months for my internship between first and second year. Why Paraguay? I wanted to go abroad. I said, hey, your website isn't mobile responsive. I can come and fix it. And they said, fantastic. We don't know what a UX designer is, so just come on down. We'll figure out something for you. This is where it works. We can just marvel at that for about 30 seconds. We're only going to have about 10. When I actually ended up going down there, it was really great. I was actually integrated more into the process, into the environment, and they ended up taking on a whole bunch of different trips to go out with the community. I was working for a nonprofit NGO, and they were working on developing applications for evaluating poverty and poverty levels in Paraguay, but also coming up with different applications to deal with poverty. And so once I was down there, this is kind of what my internship looked like to the outside world. My parents thought I was out partying every night. UMSI back here thought I was, going to these glorious vistas all the weekends. My friends thought I was on the computer all the time, which I was. I thought, my mentors thought that I primarily worked with Post-it notes and was dealing with the Post-it note wall the entire time. They didn't know what that meant, but it looked smart. I thought I was doing all these different prototypes, sketching things out. Realistically, most of the time I spent eating empanadas. And when the empanadas are about 50 cents, your lunch is $1, why the heck not? My actual internship was a little bit hectic because they didn't know what a UX designer was, and I was so brand new that a little bit of information is a dangerous thing. I was like, well, yeah, you have the project, of course. I could totally work on that. No problem, it'll be fine. This is kind of what was going on mentally the entire time I was there. But it was really great because I was actually able to be integrated less as a tourist traveling there, and instead I was actually more as a traveler. I ended up taking lots of really, what I thought were random pictures at the time. This is a beer bottle that has a space for your index finger, and when you're actually networking out in Paraguay, you gesture a lot and you're drinking a lot, so it works really well for you. I also never dealt with milk that came in non-jugs, and so having this milk container here with an arrow pointing out like, hey, this is where you open it, this is how you deal with the milk here, was really useful because it wasn't an experience I had. Shopping for tampons, on the other hand, is terrifying. They're brightly colored. Even if you speak Spanish, nothing makes sense because there's no context for you to work within, so it's kind of like, well, okay, I'm just going to pick one at random. And what does this all mean? I'm going to be getting there. But I realized a lot of these pictures I was taking, were dealing with different cues, and different social cues that were either building upon experiences I had or experiences I didn't have. And so some of these, like, the milk container and beer bottle were great, temple wall not so much. Another experience I had was being lost in a crowd. I would be in a sea of people. I thought I spoke really good Spanish. Apparently that wasn't the case. And so I'd go off into places, and I'd have no idea what was going on. I had no idea how I was getting home. But I realized at some point in time, this is fine, because I'm able to pick up on social cues. I'm able to pick up people's body language, and so even though I might not be getting 100%, I'm able to get 10%. That 10% makes it okay for me not to be freaking out by not knowing how I'm getting home. My aha moment was, if I'm here to develop my skills as a user experience designer, what does it mean to be the traveler on a website? If I'm out here traveling, not understanding what's going on in Spanish, but I can kind of get a general clue of what's going on, what is my responsibility as a user experience designer to have that kind of experience? And so I thought, what's the body language of a website? Is there a model that we can transfer over onto UX? Where have I encountered this in the past? And so I did some sleuthing with my friend Kat King here, so generous. And I realized, I logged onto some pages in Russia. Facebook is pretty similar. This is where my email goes. This is where my Facebook password goes. That's not so bad. Okay, maybe this is the way that I can think about body language for websites. Searching a Baidu, I have no idea what's going on with the text here, but it's pretty clear that that is a search bar. So if I can figure out what that is, maybe that's the body language for here. My problem was, this is kind of where I ended. I'm kind of in the middle of researching this right now, but I want to know, is it enough to know what the login bar looks like? Is it enough to know what a search bar looks like? Don't we have a responsibility to the travelers of our websites to understand how we can extend this nonverbal communication? So even though they might not get 100% of what's going on our website, they might get a little bit more, and it's comforting enough to keep them on there for longer. So we're at the end. I'm still exploring what it means to have this nonverbal communication of a website. And I'm leaving you with, be more like the beer bottle and less like a tampon wall.